Remember Joe's Apartment? It was the first feature film made by MTV, releasing in July 1996, a few months before Beavis and Butthead Do America. It started life as a 1992 short film, written and directed by John Payson. It aired on MTV during ad breaks, and when it won a Cable Ace Award, the decision was made to turn it into a feature-length movie to be released in theaters. To date, it's the only feature film Payson has ever directed.
It's a mess, but Joe's the best. Joe's Apartment, our home sweet home.
Jerry O'Connell stars as Joe, an unemployed slacker who moves into a grimy, condemned apartment building in New York City.
Dear Mom, I made it to New York safe and sound.
The place is crawling with talking cockroaches, but Joe's such a slob that he and the bugs are able to live together in mostly peaceful harmony.
Love this guy.
Joe starts trying to get a job, but is repeatedly unsuccessful. His new friends try to help him out, but they usually end up just getting in the way somehow.
Come on in, let's see if he's mine.
And beyond that, the film honestly doesn't have much of a story. Things happen, sure, but none of it comes together in a cohesive way.
It's Cousin Tiny from Texas. Howdy, cousins. Just buzzing through. Let's have ourselves a little rodeo.
Joe meets a girl working on a local community garden, Lily, played by Megan Ward.
Ain't nothing like the sight of a woman with a sackload of grubs hanging off her abdomen, eh, Joe?
He wants to impress her, so he starts collecting dog shit off the streets for her to use as fertilizer. That should give you a sense of what the comedy's like in this movie. I mean, there's gross out humor, and then there's gross out humor. Quite frankly, this movie's just fucking disgusting. I don't personally find it to be all that funny, but I do at least admire it for so fully embracing its repugnant premise. Here's an example of what I mean by this movie's plot not really having a flow. There's a classic comedy misunderstanding whereby Joe thinks Lily has a boyfriend when he sees her embracing another man, but we know it's actually just her father. Joe's kinda depressed about this, but he's kinda depressed the whole movie, so it makes no real difference.
I want to die.
And after this point, they're still flirting with each other, so it makes no difference there either. Meanwhile, Joe befriends a performance artist called Walter Shit,
Walter shit? Yeah.
who's one of the more amusing parts of the movie.
2 days, 7 hours, 23 minutes, and 4 seconds. That's how long I've been lying here.
He hires Joe as the drummer in his band, and Joe invites Lily to their show, but then Walter just uses their stage time to brutally roast Joe, as part of another one of his performance art set pieces, which embarrasses Joe in front of Lily.
There won't be any rock and roll tonight. This is all that's left.
Only then does Joe confront Lily about her having a boyfriend, at which point she immediately explains that that was just her dad, and then they just get together. So the misunderstanding about the other man in her life ultimately meant nothing, nor did Joe getting humiliated on stage in front of her. Her opinion of him didn't actually change in any way. By the way, Lily's dad is played by Robert Vaughn, a great actor reduced to playing the villain in Joe's Apartment. He's a corrupt senator who wants to bulldoze Joe's apartment building to build a prison in its place. He hires some thugs to scare all of the other tenants away. But when they try to intimidate Joe, they get chased away by the cockroaches.
Leaving so soon? The party's just starting. See ya. A spare. You was robbed.
They don't really show up again until the end of the movie, at which point Robert Vaughn just sort of turns good without his evil plan ever being exposed. I thought this whole storyline was pointless, but then I thought there'd at least be some payoff when the thugs look like they're going to turn on Robert Vaughn. However, they're instantly defeated by the cockroaches, so it actually was pointless. And why was Robert Vaughn even in this movie? Why cast an actor of his caliber if you're not going to do anything with him? Well, there is the running joke that he likes to wear women's clothing.
You tell me where you got those earrings.
Sax?
Hilarious, truly the pinnacle of wit. I suppose I should talk about the cockroaches themselves. They're all CGI, with the animation done by Blue Sky Studios, who went on to make the Ice Age films. It hasn't aged very well, but does at least have that old school charm that makes you think, man, remember when every shitty comedy movie had dodgy effects like that? What a time to be alive that was. The main roach, Ralph, is voiced by prolific voice actor Billy West in his feature film debut. He's best known as the voice of Fry on Futurama, as well as the Red M&M. There are several celebrity names among the rest of the voice cast, such as Dave Chappelle, B.D. Wong, Godfrey, and Tim Blake Nelson. Quite a random selection, I have to say. But they all have that squeaky voice filter put on, and the roaches themselves are lacking any individual personalities, so it's impossible to distinguish who's voicing who. They might as well as not even bother to hire the likes of Chappelle, since you can't even tell when it's him that's speaking. Oh, and the roaches sing, just when it couldn't get any better. Look, I really wanted to like Joe's Apartment. I'm no prude, I'm all for lowbrow humor. I mean, just look at literally any of my other videos.
Are you ready for something itsy bitsy, baby?
Oh, come and get it, you greasy little tick.
But I just didn't find the movie that funny nor entertaining, and it's pretty poorly written. It feels like they wrote literally one draft and just shot that with no oversight or quality control.
Just grab it.
Then again, maybe I just expected too much of a movie whose main characters live in a toilet bowl. One of the biggest inspirations for Joe's Apartment was the 1987 film Twilight of the Cockroaches, a Japanese film which combines live action with animation. It's apparently quite a well-revered film in anime circles, but that just proves that you should never listen to anime circles, cause Twilight of the Cockroaches is really, really boring.
Sorry.
A civilization of cockroaches known as the Hoshino tribe live in an apartment with a guy called Saito, who, much like Joe, leads a very messy existence and doesn't seem bothered by the presence of hundreds of creepy crawlies in his home. That is, until he gets a clean freak GF who sets out to exterminate all the cockroaches that live in his flat. This one comes more from the roach's perspective rather than the humans. The main character is Naomi, a female cockroach who's engaged to be married to Ichiro. Unfortunately, Ichiro's boring as fuck, so she has an affair with the enigmatic warrior bug Hans, who comes from another tribe. I guess he's supposed to be brooding and sexy, but he just comes off as having even less personality than boring old Ichiro. Look at his face when he sees Naomi, he's like, duh. So what we have here is a central trio of characters who are thoroughly uninteresting, unengaging, or just unlikable. I mean, a two-timing floozy and the two pieces of cardboard she's romantically caught between? Have mercy.
That's not the problem.
Naomi?
Naomi's friends with this other cockroach girl.
Look, a pack of toilet roaches on the make. They're all so crude. They come down here every day looking for girls covered in shit. You'd think they'd have something better to do with their time.
Then later this happens.
We'd better not tell her that Parsley died giving birth last week.
Absolutely right.
The fuck? Yeah, that's the best way to kill off your major characters, with an offhanded line of dialogue.
I wish I was pregnant.
The coolest parts of the movie are the battle scenes where the humans go at it with the cockroaches. Unfortunately, they're few and far between and don't last very long. And like Joe's Apartment, there's so many nondescript characters that it's hard to care when they get killed off. Even when Hunky Hans bites it, I can't find it in myself to give a shit. There's more supposed drama when Naomi finds out she's pregnant, but doesn't know if Hans or Ichiro is the father. Her grandfather decides this would be a good time to randomly tell her that their entire civilization is based on a lie, and nothing she's ever known has even been true. Gee, thanks for that, Grandpa, just what she needed to hear right now, I'm sure. Yeah, the Hasido tribe has been claiming for years that they once won a war against humans in an event called Armistice Day, but apparently they just made that up. I guess they just couldn't resist the urge to make the narrative needlessly convoluted in the final act. What was wrong with a straightforward story about a struggle for survival? What's worse is that the movie has no idea what tone it should be. For the most part, it takes itself way too seriously considering it's a movie about cockroaches. I get that the story's supposed to be an analogy for Japanese society post-World War II, and is based around those experiences, but the movie's so fucking dour, it's hard to find any of it enjoyable. And then after setting itself up to be such a serious movie, Twilight totally undermines itself by having scenes like this, in which Naomi converses with a talking pile of poo. Ah, so this is the power of critically acclaimed social drama anime.
Ew, a talking turd!
Are you prejudiced against droppings?
In the last 10 minutes of the movie, Naomi sees a vision of her dead grandmother.
Naomi!
Telling her that she's magically invulnerable to insecticides. She and Ichiro try to make a run for it, but Ichiro is killed. No, I was so emotionally invested in your character arc. Or, well, I would have been if you'd had one. Naomi gets blasted by the insecticide, but ultimately survives and goes on to repopulate, starting a new tribe of her own, and proving that her ghost grandma was telling the truth. That's a great way to resolve your story. Have your character just turn out to be invincible in the last 10 minutes. More movies should end that way. Imagine if at the end of Die Hard, Hans Gruber shoots John McClane in the head, and then Al Powell says, "John, don't forget, you're the reincarnation of Jesus." And then John just comes back to life and throws Hans out the window. Wouldn't that have been so much better?
Horrendous. Awful.
Oh, and if you're wondering who the father of Naomi's baby was, it was both Hans and Ichiro. Yeah, I don't know how that works either. Why make sense when you could just not make sense? Twilight of the Cockroaches could have been good if it had characters worth caring about and kept the stakes simple. But it didn't, so it sucks. The end.